What are standard home buying contingencies in New York City? This is one of the most commonly asked questions by new home buyers, which we'll aim to demystify in the following video. I'm Chris with Hauseit. In case you're not familiar with the platform, Hauseit is the largest for sale by owner and buyer closing credit company, helping home buyers and sellers save money on broker commissions in New York City since 2014. Leave a comment below, hit subscribe. We do come out with regular content, and now let's move on. The most common contingency that you'll find in New York City is the financing contingency. Now, this is a rather blanket term as it encompasses many potential other contract contingencies, such as a minimum loan amount contingency or an appraisal contingency. However, this is the most common one you will see precisely because many others that you'll see in other states are not necessary. For example, a free and clear title contingency. Now, you might see this in some other states such as California. However, it's not necessary in New York because most contracts will already have standard language saying that title should be delivered free and clear. Now, another contingency you might think of is the inspection contingency. However, this is not necessary in New York City because most inspections are done prior to contract signing but after an offer is accepted. What typically happens is a buyer will ask for a second or third showing after the offer is accepted and then bring a home inspector with him or her. Now, the home inspector, keep in mind, will only be able to do a visual inspection. Don't get confused about the home inspector potentially opening up walls and such and inspecting pipes. They will only be able to do what you can do with the visual inspection, though perhaps they may have a bit more experience. And perhaps one other thing they can do additionally is to secretly perhaps test for mold by pricking the walls. Now, this inspection is usually done after the accepted offer because if any issues are found by the home inspector that you wish to bring up with the seller, you can always do so and perhaps ask to renegotiate for a repairs or a reduction in price. Now, this is actually quite a common tactic by home buyers employed in the city. One of the primary reasons being the seller may already be quite emotionally invested with your offer. They may have had additional days on the market, stopped showing as frequently perhaps. And as a result, the seller may be more amenable to negotiating. What typically happens, since most sellers are not home contractors or general contractors themselves, is they will usually agree to some reduction in the contract price in lieu of repairs. As a result, because things are sorted out prior to contract signing, an actual contingency clause in the contract for an inspection is not necessary in New York. This brings us back to the real contingency that you might see in New York City, and that again is the financing contingency. When it is submitted in an offer format, it is rather vague and a blanket term that undergoes further negotiation by the buyer and the seller's attorney. Now, just to quickly allude to two of the potential variants or additions to a financing contingency, let's start with the minimum loan amount contingency. Now, the minimum loan amount contingency allows you to exit the contract even if you get a commitment letter, but for an amount less than specified in the contract. For example, if the minimum loan amount specified and negotiated by your lawyer in the contract is $2 million, but you only were able to get a commitment letter and a loan for $1.8 million and made best efforts to do so, well, it lets you exit the contract or more potentially allows you to renegotiate with the seller. The other variant is the appraisal contingency. As you expected, most buyers will assume that the appraisal will come in at the contract price. Of course, this doesn't always happen in reality, and if properly negotiated by your lawyer, well, if the appraisal comes in lower than the contract price or whatever the price set by the appraisal contingency is, it allows you to exit the contract or renegotiate as well. So there you have it. Hopefully you found this video helpful. And now, just to recap, if you are a new home buyer and you submit an offer, the most likely contingency that you'll encounter if you are financing is the financing contingency. Other contingencies are quite rare. There is one other one just to be aware of before we close is the sale contingency, but that you will rarely see primarily because a sale contingency is used when a buyer needs to sell his or her current home and to use the proceeds in order to buy the new home. This obviously has many moving parts. It allows many outs for the buyer if the buyer is not able to find a another buyer for his or her current home. So most sellers are quite hesitant to accept this sale or Hubbard contingency. So aside from that, what you'll see is usually the financing contingency. You won't see very many other types at all, and that really is it. We hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please remember to leave a comment, hit like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this is Chris at Hauseit, and we hope to hear from you.